I have set a goal to be a hardcore Nuzlocke of every single generation before Generation 10 releases. I previously completed my hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Leaf Green and now have to move on to a Gen 2 title. I decided to go with one of my favorite titles as a kid, the original Pokemon Silver. But I was not prepared for how terrible this game actually is. With terrible encounters, a horrendous move level curve, and limited resources, and possibly the hardest Pokemon League to take on. This is the story of my first attempt at a calculus hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Silver. Like all new journeys, we name our character and have to input our time and date settings, as Generation 2 is the first generation to introduce day and night cycles and specific day events. I grab my starter, toast the Totodile, and make my way to Mr. Pokemon's house. We then receive our Pokedex from Professor Oak and get a call that a mysterious person has just stolen a Pokemon from Professor Elm. I quickly defeat this mysterious rival, who has a Chikorita to counter my Totodile, and while leaving Cherry Grove City, have to recall their name to the police. Previously, our rival was the Frederick Klefkes from the PBO, since he always beat me. But really, Klefkes isn't the only person to constantly beat me in the PBO. Many players have. If we follow the source of where my defeats are coming from, we can find one common entity. That's right, it's Reddit, one of the most dangerous places on the interwebs. So we have to take down their commanders, the Reddit mods. So that's what we decided to name him. We pick up our first encounter in Hope the Pidgey on Route 29, and Floro the Jigglypuff on Route 46. But we definitely won't be planning on using it, since it literally only has Sing until level 9. We also grab Beef the Weedle on Route 30, One Punch Man the Geodude in the Dark Cave, and BL the Bellsprout, who's actually a great encounter for this playthrough, not because he's any good or anything, but because you can immediately trade him in Violet City to get an Onix named Rocky. Onix is not the best Pokemon in the world, but early game having a defense stat of 160 is insanely strong, considering in Generation 2 there's no physical and special split, meaning all normal ghost, fighting, ground, flying, bug, steel, rock, and poison type moves are all physical, and the rest are special. The best way to remember this is to think about the evolution types plus dragon types as always being special. I then accidentally run away from our Rattata counter in Sprout Tower, forgetting it's a separate location, and grind to reach the first level cap of 9 before heading to the flying type gym leader Faulkner. Which would seem like a cakewalk for Rocky the Onix, but both his Pokemon know the move Mudslap, which is a ground type move and reduces accuracy, so I still have to come up with a strategy. So I lead off Onix against his Pidgey, and immediately go for Screech as I take a Mudslap. I then pivot to Hope the Pidgey on another Mudslap, which I'm immune to, and with the defense drop can take down Pidgey with 2 back-to-back Gusts. Out comes Pidgeotto, so I can again pivot to Onix with my high defense stat on Gust, and then go for another Screech strategy with Onix and Pidgey until it gets to -6 defense. I can then finally take it out with Hope the Pidgey with 2 Gusts, cutting it close with low HP, but we do end up getting our first gym badge. I then headed down to Route 32, picking up Snick the Ekans, and learning the hard way that apparently since Rocky the Onix is a traded Pokemon, any level past 10, he just does not want to listen to me at all. Which is awful since I'm essentially betting on him to single-handedly beat the second gym, since I won't be getting any evolutions before that gym. Pidgey and Totodile evolve at level 18, so there's no way I'm gonna have a strong VST Pokemon to take down the Scyther. I grabbed the Old Rod as well on the route, and went back and killed my Poliwag encounter at Violet City. We then captured Tails the Rattata in Union Cave, Pip the Hoppip on Route 33, and Katie the Zubat in the Slowpoke Well. And if it isn't already obvious, the team is a whole bunch of shitters. I help Kurt and Azalea Town take down Team Rocket in the Slowpoke Well, and take down the Team Rocket executive with his ace coughing, and try my best to prepare our team to take on Bugsy. I then challenge Bugsy, he leads off with a Metapod while I lead with Rocky the Onix, since I gained Rock Throw at level 14. I of course missed my first Rock Throw, and Rocky starts loafing around next turn, and just overall doesn't want to do shit to save this run. After several turns of mashing, Bugsy finally gets his Rock Throw, and we do take down Metapod. Out comes Scyther, which is a nightmare Pokemon to deal with a broken stat spread of 110 attack and 105 speed for the current level curve, and added on, he has Fury Cutter that doubles damage with every consecutive land. Scyther can sweep teams. Scyther goes for Fury Cutter and misses, and Rocky lands a rock through. Let's go. Alright Rocky, you can display me all you want, you just have to do some damage. And yes, Rocky lands the tackle and down goes Scyther. The final Pokemon is Kakuna, which is just free real estate at this point for Hope the Pidgey to take down. We end up getting the second gym badge. And finally, Pokemon up to level 30 will obey us. Alright, I guess Rocky's on the team for a while longer, since I do allow trade evolutions during my playthrough at level 40, and having Steelix on the team would be really cool. As we make our way to Azalea Town, we get ambushed by none other than the Reddit mods. He leads off with Ghastly while I lead off Zubat, but soon realize he actually only has ghost type attacks, so I can pivot into Hope the Pidgey, and even through some hypnosis and spite shenanigans, take it down with Gust. Out comes Zubat. Since I need to preserve Pidgey for Bayleaf, I pivot Zubat on the Supersonic and then double to Rocky on the Bite. I go for Rock Throw and take it down instantly. Out comes Bayleaf, so I pivot Zubat to 4 times resist the Razor Leaf and then pivot to Hope the Pidgey on another Razor Leaf, but unfortunately get critical hit. I go for Gust doing half HP, but Bayleaf sets up a Reflect. I luckily survive the next Razor Leaf and can take it down with 2 more Gusts. Overall, was a great fight strategically, as if unprepared, that fight can go bad since your rival already has his next evolution for his starter. I then capture Shu the Paris and Ilex Forest, and use it for the cut HM to make my way through to Route 34. I catch Bald the Drowsy once again on Route 34, and while training my Pokemon for the 3rd gym, we get our first evolution of the playthrough, with Toast the Totodile evolving into Croconaw in the underground pathway, followed by Hope the Pidgey at level 18 evolving into Pidgeotto. We then catch a Nidoran female named Keef on Route 35, and Cliff the Hoot Hoot in the National Park. And there was this one trainer with a Raichu in the National Park that I faced, and I was like, aw, that's cute. And then he proceeded to nuke my Hope with a Thunderbolt. Thankfully, we survived on 3 HP, but where the fuck did that come from? With our Pokemon all basically at level 20, we are ready to take down one of the most notorious Nuzlocke killers of all time, the normal type gym leader Whitney and her Miltank, that knows Rollout, which increases base power with each land, and Milk Drink to restore HP. And the stats on this thing are bulky as fuck. With 95 HP, 105 defense, and 70 special defense, this thing is hard to take down. Whitney leads off with her Clefairy while I lead Katie the Zubat. I go for Bite as Clefairy goes for Metronome, pulling Gust. I start to spam bites, getting a few flinches as Clefairy starts to reduce my HP with double slaps. So I eventually pivot to Toast on a Metronome, which turned into Rock Smash, and proceed to go for a Water Gun while getting hit with a maximum hit double slap. I can however take down the Clefairy with a Water Gun the next turn, and out comes the monster that is Miltank. I decide instead of doing damage, I need to reduce its defense stat so that I can attack with a different Pokemon. So I go for Leer, taking a Stomp, which also has a flinch chance. With low HP, I pivot into Rocky on another Stomp. I then get hit with Entract, and of course Rocky gets infatuated. I then get flinch with Stomp, and then finally get off a Screech. But Miltank is going for Rollout and it's starting to build up. I then get infatuated again, going for Screech, and then again infatuated. The next turn, I get infatuated again, and you can see how this rollout damage is building up. And I have 160 defense fucking Onyx. Realizing I'll go down to the next rollout, I decide to sacrifice Bald the Drowsy to a rollout since by the end of turn 5 the damage should reset. I then go back into Rocky and get hit with rollout as I go for a Rock Throw, and still it does so little damage it's laughable. I then decide it's probably just best to keep going for Rock Throws to reduce Miltank's HP. But again, rollout damage is building up, and I can't sack Rocky when he's been this valuable in the run. So then, I sack Shu the Paris. Sorry Shu, but you are literally the only way we are getting out of this, as I can now go Hope the Pidgeotto and take it down with a quick attack. Yeah, That got fucking scary, but thankfully we defeat Whitney, and after she stops crying from her loss, she gives us the plain badge. I then grabbed the Squirt water bottle in Goldenrod City to awaken the Sudowoodo, blocking the path at the intersection of Route 36. On Route 37, I catch Bling the Stantler. Then I proceed to kill my Magikarp encounter in Ecruteak City, and while going to the Burn Tower, I walked in, and to my surprise, our rival, the Reddit mods, are there. And I am seriously unprepared for this, as I only have 4 Pokemon in my party with no additional sacks. He leads off with Haunter as I lead Katie the Zubat. I get hit with the Curse on the first turn and go for Bite, and decide to stay in for another one and get paralyzed by Lick, but I do get to take down Haunter with a Bite. Out comes Magnemite, so I pivot into Rocky onto the Thundershock. I go for 2 Rock Throws, finally getting hit by a Supersonic, so I pivot into Toast, taking a Sonic Boom on impact. I pivot back to Rocky and decide to go for Screech this time, hoping this will help me take it down after going for a Rock Throw. But Sonic Boom does too much damage, so I pivot Toast on another Sonic Boom and take down Magnemite with Water Gun. Out comes Bayleaf for Razor Leaf, so I pivot into Hope, taking it pretty well, then go for Gust as Bayleaf goes for Reflect, significantly weakening my Gust damage. We exchange blow for blow, and there was a slight scare from a critical hit Razor Leaf, leaving me with 5 HP, but Bayleaf does go down to a quick attack. Out comes the final Pokemon, Zubat. And if you look at my party, everyone is basically dead to Zubat bites, not considering it also has a flinch chance. So I pivot Katie on a bite and thankfully live the next one, and to get to go for a bite of my own. I then pivot to Toast on another bite and go for Water Gun. I then get hit with Confuse Ray, and now I am borderline gigafucked, playing into the odds of Confusion chance. I weigh my options as I need to sack a Pokemon here. Zubat is extremely valuable for the Ghost Gym and for future gyms. Pidgeotto is a great normal type for the Ghost Gym, and Rocky turning into Steelix is just kinda cool vibes. Somehow my logic landed on Toast to be the sacrifice, and not just the sacrifice, he still needs to land this Water Gun, which after seeing what I was about to do to him, he strikes himself in confusion, but he did live another bite, meaning Croconaw had a chance to take down this Zubat. Croconaw does land the next Water Gun, but goes down to a bite. I then go into Hope to take down Zubat with a quick attack and win the battle. At what cost? I was hoping that since there's so much water on the map, surely we can find a good water type to replace Toast, right? What I would soon realize is that you can't replace the true friends you made along the way. I catch a wild Coughing named Bomb in the Burn Tower, Floof the Meowth on Route 38, and actually find a decent encounter in Dingles the Magnemite on Route 39, since it is finally a Steel type in the game, which has crazy resists in Generation 2, even resisting Dark and Dragon type. I grab the Good Rod from Olivine City, allowing me some more encounters. In Olivine City, I end up getting Karl the Corsola, and then Mr. K the Krabby on Route 39. And while training, I decided to go ahead and take on the task of talking to Jasmine and accepting the quest to give the Ampharos and the Lighthouse the medicine it needs to make it feel better. That's in Cyanwood City, so a little ways along the way. While training our Katie the Zubat, it evolved into Golbat at level 22, which is a nice addition before facing the next gym. With all my Pokemon at the level cap of 25, I'm ready to take on the Ghost-type gym leader Mort in Ecruteak City. He leads off with Ghastly while I lead off with Katie the Golbat, one-shotting it with a bite. Out comes Haunter, who takes great damage from a bite, but we do get hit with Hypnosis in return. I unfortunately don't wake up in time to get off the last bite, as Haunter whittles me down with Nightshade. Realizing again that Haunter does only have Ghost-type moves, I can go straight into Hope and take it down with a Gust. Out comes Morse Ace Pokemon Gengar. He thankfully misses his first 2 Hypnosis as I get off great Gust damage. After falling asleep, I then pivot to Floof the Meowth since Gengar's only attacking moves are Dream Eater and Shadow Ball. I get a bite before falling asleep again and realize I know where this is going if I keep on pivoting all my Pokemon. All of them will end up being asleep since Gengar is so fast and can land Hypnosis. And he'll just gain back all of his HP as he can go for Dream Eater, and I'll just wipe. So instead of doing that, I will use one of my many great forbidden techniques. PP stalling. You see, every time the AI sees a Pokemon not asleep, they'll want to go for Hypnosis. And if the Pokemon in front of them is asleep, they'll always want to go for Dream Eater, which fails if not asleep. So using this logic, I can make Gengar run out of Dream Manners and make his only attacking move Shadow Ball. I constantly switch between Floof the Meowth and Bling the Stantler. Gengar finally runs out of Dream Manners and actually goes for a mean look on my incoming Stantler. And I finally think I'm gonna get away with this until I realize Stantler doesn't have any moves to hit this fucking Gengar either. I can make it fall asleep with Hypnosis, sure, but I'm stuck in here, and as Bling the Stantler and Gengar wage what seems like an internal war of psychological battle, I'm still unsure of how this is gonna make it out. Ultimately, it's Gengar who runs out of PP first. That will mean he'll struggle to death. But wait, holy shit, that struggle's doing a lot of damage. Wait, nope. Bling's not gonna make it, and down goes Bling. Oof. I then go Onix as Gengar takes itself out with the struggle. Out comes the final Pokemon Haunter, and with only ghost type moves, I can go into Hope the Pidgeotto and easily 1v1 it and get to take home the Fog Badge. But damn, I thought it was so smart playing this one out, but losing Bling was so unnecessary. Bling was not a forever party member, but the PC box of deaths is getting larger and larger. With Bling down, I decided to grab Karl the Corsola out the box as a temporary HM servant. But don't get any bright ideas. Karl is absolute dog water. I mean, just look at this stat spread, totaling up to 410 BST. Sure, this thing's a menace in ZU, but it does not have a place here. I then take down all the Komono girls and get Surf as a reward. With Surf, I begin the journey across the sea to Cianwood City, picking up tennis balls, the Tentacruel on Route 41, and getting the free static encounter in Shuckle in Cianwood City. While training in the gym, I did not realize I would be going up against back-to-back battles of a Hitmonlee and a Hitmonchan that had all the elemental punches. And in doing so, I had to use Mr. K as a pivot to get in my Pidgeotto for the final KO. I had switched out Karl for Mr. K at this point, so welcome back to the team again, Karl. I also ran around on my bike, which seemed like forever to get Katie's happiness up to 220 so that we can finally evolve her into Crobat. Also receiving Wing Attack at level 30, which is great for the upcoming gym. Dingle's also evolved into Magneton, at which point I decided to see when he will learn Thunderbolt, and it turns out he never does. This is what I mean by terrible level up move curves. Magneton will have a 40 base power Thundershock forever, since Thunderbolt isn't a TM in this generation, but the punches are. With all our Pokemon at the level curve, it's time to take down the fighting type gym leader Chuck. He leads off with Primeape, as I lead off with Crobat, immediately one-shotting him with Wing Attack. Out comes Poliwrath, who takes half damage from Wing Attack as I get hit with Hypnosis. I decide to kill a turn of sleep and take a Surf, and then proceed to not wake up again on another Surf. This ultimately caused me to switch out into Tennis Balls on another Surf. I then go for Acid Chip, which does nothing as he goes for Mind Reader, and the next turn he lands a Dynamic Punch which also guarantees a Confusion, and I unfortunately hit myself. I do land my Acid next turn as Poliwrath misses that Dynamic Punch so I get more Acid Chip, but Tennis Balls can't stay locked in forever and smacks himself in the face from Confusion and unfortunately faints. This does give me a great opportunity to go into Hope the Pidgeotto and take it out with a Wing Attack. And with that, we pick up the 5th gym badge. Afterwards, I can grab Fly from outside the gym from Chuck's wife, grab the medicine from Cianwood City, and fly to Olivine City to give it to Ampharos so we can go back to lighting the lighthouse, and Jasmine can return to her position at the gym. But we aren't fighting Jasmine first. Yep, that's right, because Jasmine's ace is level 35, and Price's ace is level 31, so we actually have to make our way east first. I catch a Machop and Mount Mortar named Logang and catch a Seaking on Route 42. After a short walk, we are in Mahogany Town, and have to head north to the Lake of Rage. On Route 43, I catch a Flaffy named Tails, and with all my Pokemon at roughly level 30 to level 31, I really have no option but to use Karl the Corsola for most fights as an XP sponge. But to my surprise, Karl actually does a lot of damage with Surf since it's 95 base power. I'm still not sold on Karl since again his stats are so shit, but he did do a great job taking down trainers. And thanks to Karl's unbelievable strength, I kill my Magikarp encounter at the Lake of Rage again. As I chose not to make it the red Gyarados since that Gyarados is level 30 and knows Thrash, meaning it could take out a potential party member. After beating the red Gyarados, Lance appears and asks for my help to investigate into a radio frequency, forcing Magikarp to evolve. Back in Mahogany Town, we find the Rocket hideout and again have to face several Team Rocket grunts, and I have to heavily rely on Karl to take them on, who again does an amazing job since as a rock type, He resists all normal and poison type moves from Team Rocket's Pokemon. I get the 2 passwords from the Rocket Grunts and now have to fight the Team Rocket executive. But again, Karl comes in clutch, one-shotting Zubat, 2-shotting Raticate, and one-shotting Coughing with Surf. We then have to fight another executive before heading towards the Electrodes, and again, Karl successfully 1v1s both the Arbok and the Murkrow. Alright, it's official. We are adding another shitter to the team permanently. Welcome, Karl the Corsola. With the executive down, we now have to face the Electrodes. And I do try to catch one as an encounter in this area, but of course, it self-destructs before I get a successful capture. We stop the machine, and Lance gives me HM06 Whirlpool. With the Team Rocket hideout defeated, we can now head to take on the 7th gym leader, Price. Price leads off with Seal as I lead off with Dingles. I go for a Thundershock, doing great damage, and take an Aurora Beam in response, which does nothing. So Dingles can pick up the KO with the next Thundershock. Price then sends out his next Pokemon, Piloswine. Since Piloswine has no ground type moves, I can pivot Karl on the Blizzard, taking it easily. Karl dodges back-to-back Blizzards and takes down Piloswine with 2 Surfs. Out comes Dugong, so I pivot back into Dingles on the Aurora Beam and can easily take down Dugong with several Thundershocks after it goes for the eventual rest. And with that, we get the 7th Gym Badge and the ability to use Whirlpool. Now, I know I said trade evolutions earlier at level 40, but since the level curve in this game is so balls, I wanted to evolve my Rocky so I can spend more time with Steelix. So I teach Hope the TM Thief and go to Route 38 to Thief Magnemites as they have a 2% chance to give a Metacoat, and roughly 20 minutes later, we finally get one, meaning we can evolve our Onix into Steelix. Hell yeah, look at that Crimson Chin. We grind all of our Pokemon up to the level cap of 35 and teach our Steelix the 20 base power Mud Slap, which I failed to give him since receiving it from Faulkner. But it is the only ground stab for Steelix until we get the Earthquake TM, and it's great for this next gym. We go into Olivine City and have to face the Steel-type gym leader Jasmine. She leads off with Magnemite as I lead off with Rocky the Steelix, and get to use Mud Slap for the first time, and one-shot Magnemite. Out comes Jasmine's ace Pokemon of her own, Steelix. It does have a 100 base power Iron Tail to be afraid of, so I pivot into Karl, who dodges the Iron Tail and almost one-shot Steelix from full HP. That is what I'm talking about, Karl. Jasmine uses a full restore, but it's still not enough to keep her alive from the menace that is Karl, taking it down with 2 Bubble Beams. Out comes the final Pokemon, Magnemite, which a simple switch to Steelix can easily take it out with a Mud Slap. And with that, we get the 7th Gym Badge, the Mineral Badge. We also get Iron Tail as a TM, which is 100 base power and is the only stab move to give to Steelix. So that's super sick. I can't wait to try it out on this first trainer. Oh, this is going to be so awesome. I can't wait to use Iron Tail, 100 base power and only 75% accurate. That's not too bad, right? 75% accurate. That's a passing grade in my book. The odds of failing to land, I don't know, multiple times in a row gets lower and lower with each miss, right? 75% accurate. Please, Rocky, please just... Oh god, this... Is Rocky a shitter? Oh god, even Steelix. Oh no, even Steelix is a shitter. I go to the radio tower in Goldenrod City and defeat all the Team Rocket goons to save the director, only he's not the director, but a Team Rocket grunt in disguise, which he has an entire team of Coughings and Wheezing that all know self-destruct, but luckily Rocky is so bulky they never go for it. Now we make way for the underground passage where the real director is being held. But before saving him, the Reddit mods jump in and ruin everything, as he just has to be the one to save the day. He leads off with Golbat, as I lead off with Dingles the Magneton. I go for a Thundershock, almost KOing him, which is a naturally occurring theme since it's only 40 base power. He goes for Confuse Ray, which does pay off temporarily, but we KO Golbat with a Thundershock the following turn. Out comes Magnemite, who we can Thundershock twice to take down after taking a Thunder Wave into a Sonic Boom. Out comes Haunter, which forces us to switch into Hope the Pidgeotto, since once again Haunter only has Ghost-type moves, and I can take it down easily with a Wing Attack. Out comes Sneasel, which is a cool Pokemon until you realize Dark and Ice type is special in this game, and Sneasel only has 35 special attack. So I eventually switched to Katie the Crobat to take it down with a Wing Attack, so I'm positioned perfectly to take down our rival's ace Pokemon, Meganium. I go for a Wing Attack doing over half HP, and get hit with Body Slam, which thankfully does not paralyze me, allowing me to take out the Meganium the next turn with another Wing Attack. And we finally take down this Edge King, who says something he only trains the toughest Pokemon and soaks the fun out of Pokemon just by sheer presence. We make it through the underground passageway and evolve our Hope the Pidgeotto into Pidgeot, and end up finding the director at the very end, who gives me the keycard to finally get to the top of the radio tower to prevent Team Rocket's broadcast and the search for Giovanni. I run over to the radio tower, and on the way up, face the Team Rocket admin I faced in Mahogany Town, but due to the level curve, I take down her Arbok and Murkrow easily. And now it's time for the Team Rocket leader, who tells me they won't stop searching for Giovanni to finish Team Rocket's goals, so I have to take him down. It seems he was not prepared for Karl though, who one-shot both his Houndour with Surf and also did great damage to his Houndoom as well before letting Hope finish the job. And with Team Rocket defeated, they all exit the building and we get thanked by the radio tower director. Now we're off to continue our journey to the 8th gym badge. On Route 44, I pick up Lickitung and the grass, who is basically useless, and on the ice path, I get Swinub, who really only gets Earthquake as a decent move and does not have a great special attack stat to use his ice type moves, so he stays in the box as well. And at this point, I have prepared for who will be our final encounter, but we unfortunately won't pick him up until the very end. We then make it to Blackthorn City, finally catching our Magikarp encounter that we should have gotten a million years ago, and I defeat all the trainers in the Blackthorn City gym, and now we are ready to take on the Dragon-type gym leader, Claire. She leads off with Dragonair as I lead off with Katie, the Crobat, going for Wing Attack and doing half HP. And luckily, Katie dodges a Thunder Wave, so we can easily take it out the next turn. Out comes another Dragonair, who takes another Wing Attack, and Katie, being the most nimble of bats, dodges another Thunder Wave, meaning we get the easiest back-to-back KOs. Third Dragonair comes out, so I again go for Wing Attack, and finally do get hit with Thunder Wave. So I decide to switch to Dingles on the incoming Ice Beam. I then decide to Thunder Wave the Dragonair, as the only damaging move I really have is Swift, which after 2 more Swifts, I take down the Dragonair. And out comes Claire's ace Pokemon, Kingdra, who immediately goes for Surf, almost taking down my Dingles. And luckily, Dingles pulls through and lands a Thunder Wave, crippling the Kingdra's speed. It's time to send in the threat, Karl, who, takes over half from Surf? Damn, Karl, what the fuck? We panic, and we sack Logang, since we don't have an answer to this thing. Epic. Now we bring in Hope the Pidgeot, who goes for Wing Attack, roughly a 4-hit KO, and takes a smoke screen. Thankfully, we do get a paralysis, so we get another Wing Attack off for free. But a Surf does come out the next turn, doing almost half damage. And I immediately choke, going for a Quick Attack as Claire uses a Hyper Potion. We land another Wing Attack next turn, and Kingdra's paralyzed. We land another Wing Attack the following turn, and have to live this Surf, and thankfully we do on 5 HP. Let's go Hope. Down goes Kingdra to a Quick Attack. We finally receive our 8th gym badge, and rightfully earn, at least I thought so, but Claire's Karen ass says I'm not worthy. So I have to go to the Dragon's Den and pick up the Dragon Fang, and somehow that makes me worthy, so I finally get the 8th gym badge. On the Dragon's Den, I get Barney the Dratini, but it's basically a useless encounter since we can't get Dragonite until level 55, way beyond the Elite Four's level cap, and on our way to the Elite Four, we pass into the Kanto region, and our final encounter, and the final member of our team, is Dunce the Slowpoke from Toho Falls, as I won't be grabbing any of the other encounters. We make it through Route 27 and 26 unscathed, as Victory Road is essentially empty. We do, however, pick up the HM Earthquake and give it to Steelix, and it's the Reddit mod's final chance to appeal to the Twitch CEO by defeating me in battle. Toppling this Reddit mod will put the world more at peace and keep toxicity at bay. He leads off with Sneasel as I lead off with Steelix. I get hit with Screech and absolutely nuke Sneasel with an Iron Tail. Out comes Golbat, so I pivot Karl on the Wing Attack. Karl takes a bite and goes for Surf, doing almost half HP, and barely misses out on the KO on the next one. But a string of bite flinches puts Karl in a huge disadvantage, so I need to pivot into Hope on a bite and finish it with Quick Attack. Out comes Magneton for Thunder Wave, so I pivot into Rocky the Steelix and easily KO it with Earthquake. Out comes Kadabra, who goes for Future Sight as I take it down with another Earthquake. Now comes in our rival's ace Pokemon, Meganium. Since the Future Sight is soon to be incoming, I decide to stay in as Meganium goes for Reflect, and I get off an Iron Tail, which does nothing. I take a Razor Leaf and get Iron Tail Chip again, and then finally take the Future Sight damage. Now I can pivot safely into Katie on a Razor Leaf and take it down with Wing Attack. And the final Pokemon is Haunter, who gets KO'd by 2 Wing Attacks, and down goes the Reddit mods. Maybe one day they will learn their lesson that with great subjective power comes great responsibility and greater humility. Oh yeah, and maybe I'd also stop losing to so many PvO players from Reddit. That would be nice. But now it's time to prepare our team for the finale of the game, the Elite Four and Champion. We get a King's Rock and Slowpoke as well, and therefore can get an evolution in Slowpoke to Slow King. We give Slow King the TM Shadow Ball and the Ice Punch from Goldenrod City. And that's pretty much it, since there's no other good TMs to give my Pokemon, which is very disappointing. But Generation 2 did finally bring in power boosting items, so I pick up the Hardstone, Magnet, Mystic Water, Pink Bow, Sharp Beak, and Never Melt Ice, and equip it to the appropriate party members, and now it's finally time to face the Elite Four. The first Elite Four member we have to face is the Psychic type trainer Will. He leads off with Xatu as I lead off with Magneton. Xatu actually goes first and gets off a Confuse Ray, but luckily Dingles is locked in and almost KOs it with Thundershock. But we do pick up a Paralysis, meaning I outspeed next turn. Thankfully we don't hit ourselves and land another Thundershock to take down Xatu. Out comes Executor, so I pivot Hope as it goes for Reflect. I then go for Fly to delay more Reflect turns, doing about a 3-8 KO and taking almost half from a Psychic. So I go for Fly again and get an epic critical hit to take down Executor, and don't risk Hope's life at all. Out comes Jinx, so I pivot to Karl on the Ice Punch, but do end up getting frozen, so Karl's use has gone down the drain. I pivot to Slowking on the Psychic, and then take a double slap and KO Jinx with a Shadow Ball. Out comes Will's Ace Xatu, so I stay in and take a Psychic, and I'm able to go for the Ice Punch, barely missing out on the KO. I mean, look at that, it's like 2 HP. We'll waste my time going for a full restore, and I can finally take him down with another Ice Punch after taking a Psychic. The final Pokemon is a Slowbro, and as Slowking stares in the face of his cousins, he knows what he must do. Several Shadow Balls later, and Slowbro's lineage is GG easied, and we take down the first Elite Four member, where Dunce, being the newest member of the team, also hard fucking carried. The next Elite Four member is none other than the Poison type Kanto Gym leader, Koga. He leads off with Ariados as I lead off with Katie the Crobat, going for a Fly and immediately making the epic mistake that is Ariados going for a double team. I of course miss my Fly as Ariados goes for another double team. I then miss a Wing Attack, and holy fucking shit, this Ariados just baton passed evasion into Venomoth. This is the most impressive play I think I've ever seen. I need to find a way to respond. So I pivot to Dingles on the Psychic and go for several Thundershocks, and thankfully land all of them to take it out. Out comes Fortress, who has Explosion. I need to be extremely careful. I pivot Steelix as Fortress gets up a layer of spikes, and I can go for Earthquake doing great damage as Fortress can really only hit me with Swift. I full send a couple more Earthquakes and get a critical hit to finally take it down. Out comes Ariados, so I go for Rock Throw, but since it's not Stab, it does nothing, and Ariados goes for a double team. But Rocky isn't fucking around, so we go for an Earthquake and land it to KO Ariados. Finally is Koga's ace Pokemon Crobat, so I can pivot into Dingles to resist all of his attacks, including Wing Attack, and take him down with Thundershocks. But I forgot Koga actually had one more Pokemon in Muck, so I pivot Steelix, and essentially Muck can't hit me at all, so I can spam Earthquakes until Muck goes down. And as easy as his Kanto Gym counterpart, Koga goes down easily. We have now defeated the second Elite Four member. I totally forgot to unfreeze my Karl the Corsola for the fight, so thankfully we didn't need him. Kinda feels like we don't really need Karl at all. But don't worry, I have a plan for Karl. On to the third Elite Four member, the Fighting type trainer Bruno. He leads off with Hitmontop as I lead off with Katie the Crobat. And like an absolute Giga Chad, Hitmontop goes for Quick Attack before I go for Fly, and then proceeds to go for Detect the next turn. Okay then, I take another Quick Attack and go for Wing Attack this time, barely missing the KO, but can take it down next turn with another Wing Attack. And Katie is still pretty healthy. Out comes Onyx, so I pivot Karl on the Rock Slide, and then we can proceed to take him down with Surf. Out comes Hitmonlee for the Fighting type move, so I pivot Katie on the High Jump Kick. I then go for Fly, hoping Hitmonlee would go for the High Jump Kick again, but it doesn't matter as I take him down with one Fly anyways. Out comes Hitmonchan with all the elemental punches, so I pivot Steelix on the incoming Ice Punch, and then double into Dunce the Slowpoke on an incoming Fire Punch. I can then KO Hitmonchan with a critical hit Confusion, because yes, I still don't have Psychic. Out comes Bruno's ace Pokemon, Machamp. I get hit with a critical hit Rock Slide, doing insane damage, and get off a Confusion doing over half health. I am super afraid right now. Will Bruno go for a full restore, and should I stay in for a Confusion, or will he Rock Slide? Ultimately, I decide the safer play is to switch into Karl as Bruno uses a max potion. Knowing a fighting type move is incoming, I pivot into Katie on the cross chop, 4 times resisting it, and then go for a fly. We really need this to either kill or dodge the Rock Slide. Unfortunately, we miss out on the KO, and down goes Katie to a Rock Slide. This sacrifice will not be in vain as I can now go Hope and take it down with a Wing Attack. This was still absolutely awful though, because without that Rock Slide critical hitting, I could have come out of this unscathed, but with no real resist to both fighting and rock type moves, a team member was destined to go down. There could have been hope for Steelix to live a cross chop, but still, I'm unsure whether he would have survived. That being said, we still have 2 more battles to take down to become the champion, and I still believe we have the tools and the best team of shitters I have ever trained to win the game. The next Elite Four member is a new addition to the Pokemon games, the Dark type trainer Karen. She leads off with Umbreon as I lead off with Steelix. I immediately get hit with a Confuse Ray, but I'm able to land my Earthquake, which doesn't do much damage at all. So I pivot Dingles on the Feint Attack and get off a critical hit Thundershock, as Umbreon goes for another Confuse Ray. I pivot back to Rocky on another Feint Attack, but get hit with Sand Attack, so of course my Earthquake fails to land. Back to Dingles, and all the switching might seem irrelevant, but notice that Dingles' health is getting weaker and weaker. 2 Thundershocks later, we finally take down Umbreon. Out comes Karen's ace Pokemon Houndoom. Thankfully, I have a 4 times resist to fire and Karl, so I switch in and can take a critical hit Flamethrower somewhat reasonably. I get hit with a Crunch, which does crazy damage. I only do over half HP with Surf. Here I am thinking the AI will want to heal, right? Wrong. I was always going to get outsped and was forever trapped, even if I did switch out, just because Houndoom was going for Pursuit, so Karl goes fucking down. God damn it, why did this innocent little shitter have to go out like that? He was supposed to be my counter for Lance's Charizard, now I have nothing. I send out Dunce and get hit with Crunch, but luckily we aren't flinched and take it down with a Surf. Out comes Murkrow, so I can pivot into Dingles on the Feint Attack and take it down with Thundershock after taking another Feint Attack. Karen's next Pokemon comes out in Vileplume. Knowing it will likely go for Stun Spore, I decide to stay in and Thunder Wave it, and then pivot to Hope the Pidgeot. I go for Fly, almost taking down Vileplume in one hit, and finally get hit with Stun Spore. I can now go for Quick Attack to take it down. Luckily, I can't get Hypnosis thanks to the fact that I'm already paralyzed, but this Gengar is still quite tricky since it has Destiny Bond. So I do the only thing I know how, use my Forbidden Technique, PP stalling once again, and let all of Gengar's Destiny Bonds go down before finally taking it down with Thief. That is the final Elite Four member down, but again, we have lost Karl, another somewhat valuable resource. I have no idea how we're going to beat Lance, but I know if we believe in our squad enough, we can take him down. We still have 2 Steel types, and Slowking to handle a lot of his threats. Now, as I enter the champion room to find the Dragon Master Lance, you will note that although his outfit makes him look like a 5-year-old with a cape and pajamas, he was able to find an IRL Game Shark to get 3 fucking Dragonites that should not have evolved yet. Nonetheless, we have come prepared as best we can. It's time to fuck this guy up. He leads off with Gyarados as I lead off with Dingles. I outspeed and go for a Thundershock and don't pick up the fucking KO. This is immediately going awful. I even have the Magnet and a 4 times effective move, and that didn't kill? I not only take Surf damage, but I take a critical hit Surf. Jesus Christ, we are so fucked. I take down Gyarados with the next Thundershock, and out comes Lance Ace Dragonite. Now, I'm assuming that Lance would go for a Fire Blast, since it's his strongest move, as it's 2 times super effective, and both Hyper Beam and Outrage are resisted. So I thought about pivoting to Dunce the Slowking, but if he doesn't go for Fire Blast, we instantly lose. So I don't play the odds and stay in with Dingles as Dragonite goes for Outrage. Okay, thank fuck, we still got this. We now go Dunce, or do we go Rocky? I have no fucking clue what to do. So I go Dunce thinking I can Ice Punch and likely KO. So I take the outrage, and of course, barely miss the fucking KO because this shitty Gen 2 game only gives you Ice Punch instead of Ice Beam. So we have to take another outrage to take this Dragonite down. This is so bad. Out comes another Dragonite that has Thunder. So I can pivot Rocky for free and 1v1 it as it goes for Hyper Beam. And I get it off an Iron Tail that does over half HP. But part of me thought about switching into Hope as the Dragonite recharges. But would that really put me at an advantage? Since the next Dragonite with Blizzard will want to come out, and I have no switch-ins. But if I stay in now, Charizard comes in, and I have no fucking switch-ins either. So I decide to stay in and take down the Dragonite with Rock Throw to avoid the risk of missing, except I don't KO it, meaning I take extra Hyper Beam damage when every piece of HP is vital. Out comes Charizard, so I pivot Dunce on the Flamethrower, who lives it but goes down to another one next turn. Even then, I was hoping he would go for Hyper Beam so I can take advantage of the recharge turn, but he did not even go for it. I go Hope and go for Fly, which is a 3-hit KO, and Charizard's Flamethrower is a 2-hit KO, unless he massively low rolls or I crit. I land the Fly and don't crit, and don't take the Flamethrower either. And with Rocky, the Steelix ready to be melted like butter, Lance ends the run with another Flamethrower. Fuck that fucking caped asshole. Did things go literally as wrong as possible? I actually could not get over this. I reset my game and tried several different options. Was there a world where I could have won? Initially, there were alternate plays where Gyarados sets up Rain Dance instead of attacking. I tried to see if using Dunce could also take down Charizard, but of course in this reality we dodge a Hyper Beam, and in another reality we froze his Ace Dragonite with Ice Punch, so Dunce had enough HP to just beat the Charizard. I did find an ending where I beat the final Dragonite with Rocky, but it was because he missed 3 Blizzards in a row. And then I could take down Aerodactyl easily with Iron Tail. No matter what I did, I was destined to lose this fight. I can only go back to what caused me to get to this moment. The death of Karl ultimately left me with a lack of a Charizard counter, as he could resist all of Charizard's attacks and likely do great damage with Ancient Power. I think about if Katie was still in this fight, how that would allow me to have more HP on my Slowking to take down another Dragonite if needed. Ultimately, it came down to the fact that I misplayed them. Karl was one of my favorite Pokemon, but he could never take on a Houndoom on his own. I may have lost the run, with a game time of 72 hours and 22 minutes, and an IRL time of 15 hours. But I will come back to beat that cape-wearing, overpowered asshole. And I won't just do it because I want to. I'll do it in Karl's name. Thank you guys for watching. Please like the video if you haven't already, and leave a comment on how I can do better. See you in the Revenge Tour. Peace.